Hello, everyone. This is Animezingly Baka, the amazingly stupid podcast all about anime and movies and TV shows and manga and comics and books and music and whatever else tickles my fancy. Sans video games, of course, because that already has its own space in the Pixelated Sausage Show and Attack the Backlog and Second Runs and The Last Call and the streams and oh my god, enough with the video games stuff, right? I am, of course, though, your host, Mark Janez. Hi, how y'all doing? Hopefully well. This is going to be a shorter episode with the end of Andor 2 weeks ago and the end of The Last of Us Season 2 last week. I haven't watched anything new in terms of shows or movies, right? I didn't watch anything new movie-wise. Just continuing with my great rewatch of my collection to weed out any potential stragglers that have been lingering in the collection that I don't want anymore, because I did a purge a long time ago, relatively, and got rid of a lot of movies. But there are ones that I haven't watched in a while that I am learning I no longer really like. And it's been exhausting. It's especially been exhausting because I have decided to power through, and especially on the weekend during my off time, just watch movie after movie after movie after movie, and I want to die. But it's because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The playlist is getting short. We're getting to the point where we'll be in double digits instead of triple, and I just want to be done with it at this point. So I'm killing myself with this because I am so gluttonously consuming and watching all this stuff. There's not much to talk about in terms of any individual movie because it's just so much and everything doesn't exactly blend together, but it's just hard to pick out one movie amongst the crowd and talk about it. However, the Night of the Hunter, that one sticks out as one I remembered being better than I thought it was upon a rewatch. And it is one that has a fairly critically acclaimed, what is it, reputation? If you don't know what Night of the Hunter is, the Night of the Hunter, it is an old movie with Robert Mitchum, right? That's his name. I just realized I may not be remembering it exactly right. But he plays a preacher who met a man in prison who stole, I believe it was $10,000. And when he gets out of prison, Robert Mitchum's character, he goes and seeks out this family of the man who stole the money to find out what happened to it and to get it for himself because he's not a good dude, obviously. He may be a preacher, but he's in prison. So how good of a dude can he be? And what I found so odd about it during this rewatch is that when it is being this dark and atmospheric thriller, it can be very scary and super effective in just the mood it is trying to elicit. However, it is not just this dark and atmospheric thriller. It's also this weird fucking kids are special, they're precious, let us love our children type of story. It has the religious angle to it with him being a preacher and then this counter good motherly figure in, I don't remember her character's name. But then you also have these silly moments where it almost feels Looney Tunes-esque, where Robert Mitchum's character is caught by someone and they do this weird reaction shot. So he looks like, what? and they have those where like, "What?" Like, what is not a fucking Looney Tunes thing, but when I'm trying to think of a specific character, but when they scream and, like I think a good example would be when somebody gets lit on fire in a Looney Tunes cartoon, and they start freaking out and just running all over the place. That kind of yelping, you get a bit of that in the movie, and it's just weird. It becomes this weird tonal hodgepodge of a movie when it should have stayed focused on what it was good at, and what it was good at was being that dark and atmospheric thriller. And I feel like for a lot of us who are aware of Robert Mitchum at all, this is probably a movie that introduced you or introduced him to you. And watching something like Holiday Affair, which is this romantic comedy with a maybe a smidge of drama in it that takes place during Christmas with him in it as this very, very charming lead. And I remember the first time I saw Holiday Fair, I was so taken aback by how good Robert Mitchum was in the role because I thought of him as the dude in Night of the Hunter or even other stuff like I think he was the bad guy in the original Cape Fear, but he's somebody who looks like a dude you don't want to trust. And you look at him and you think, there's something off about you. I've got my eye on you. And in Holiday Affair, he's just so charming, and I love a lot about Holiday Affair as this kind of surprising in where it goes with certain elements of the story that I wouldn't expect from a movie from back then, but even today, in terms of there was a point late in the movie where so Robert Mitchum is interested in this woman who is a single mother. She's in a relationship with another guy, but she's not quite she doesn't seem fully committed to his willingness to want to go to the next level, get engaged and get married. She doesn't seem to be all in for that. But at a dinner at the woman's parents' house for Christmas, who they invite him, Robert Mitchum's character, to because he's just been a good guy and he gave a train set to her boy for Christmas. The boy's a little annoying. That kind of turns me off on the movie a little bit. But it is, kids, that's just how kids are, for me at least. But at the dinner, he says that, and I don't remember word for word, but essentially says that he likes the mother too, and that he would like her to marry him. Maybe doesn't go so far as putting out an engagement of his own offer, but during that, he says after admitting all that to the family that you're all probably thinking why I should have just kept this to myself. Why say all this and whatnot? But I don't think that would have been a better choice here because would you rather me keep all these feelings in private or sneak behind the other guy's back and try to get her or is it so wrong for her son to know that two men care about his mother so deeply and not just one? And I thought the way they handled that scene was just very well done because because you look at it and you think, oh my God, how could he do something like that? And then his explanation was very understandable. I really, really like Holiday Affair. I think it is a not underrated because I don't know how well it is received by those who've seen it, but an underseen holiday movie, an underseen romantic movie. I think it's very well done. and it showcases Robert Mitchum's range as an actor. And I think I read somewhere that it was actually a role he took to try and lighten his image after a stint in prison for something. So maybe in reality, he is closer to Night of the Hunter, in which case his ability to be this charming fella in Holiday Affair is all the more impressive. But really, what I'm here to talk about is anime, specifically Fire Force, because I finished Fire Force season 2, which means I'm all caught up. Well, I'm ready to watch the current season of Fire Force finally. And I'm really glad I decided to do the rewatch because it did one, obviously, it's going to make me much more not current, yes, current, but my ability to watch season 3 and know what's going on, remember how things happened prior is way more present in that I just rewatched the first 2 seasons. But also because I warmed to the series a lot more. My original score for season 1 was a 7 out of 10. I bumped that up to an 8, and my score for season 2 was a 4 out of 10. Don't know why, and I bumped that up to a 7. I think it's a really, really strong season, but it's a little bit it didn't hit me as much as the first season, and maybe it's because there are times where it feels like nothing is really happening, but also, while it has really high points, it has some lower points as well. But I really, really like the show upon a rewatch. There are the unfortunate elements, specifically all of the fan servicey shit with Tamaki. It's frustrating for 2 reasons, the fan service stuff. And we get fan service with other characters as well, like Iris, the not nurse, not priest, the sister, and Maki at times, and is it Hikagi, the other captain from was it the 6th? The one who's into Shinra, not that there aren't others who are into Shinra, but what makes it unfortunate with Tamaki is that, 1, it is just this element of the whole show that doesn't need to be there, that doesn't add anything, that is just this distraction that frustrates people like me who look at it as this thing that diminishes the rest of the story, that takes away from it. And again, I always feel the need to reiterate this. I don't have anything against fan service. I've watched and enjoyed shows like Monster Musume or that Keiju dumbass butt smacking, boob smacking sport anime. I enjoyed that enough for what it was. I enjoyed Monster Musume genuinely or more so, but I can appreciate those stupid things. And I guess you could call something like Killing Bites a real trashy show, but that has its fan servicey elements as well because just everyone's all scantily clad and whatnot. But those are shows where either the fan service is the whole reasons for its existence, like with that Keiju show, or it's just a very big part of it. And here it just feels tacked on because there is going to be a certain selection of the audience, a certain part of the anime community that likes fan service regardless of anything. And they want to speak to that. They want to have this element so that they can try to speak to everyone. And it just doesn't need to be there. The second and more important reason for it being frustrating, specifically with Tamaki, is that it takes away from her character. How how great of a character? No. It just makes it so that any good you can try or development you can try to do with her character on a deeper level, it's all taken away. It's all thrown out the window because ultimately all she's there for is fan service. And whether or not you try and explore her backstory or history, who she is as a person, so on and so forth, it doesn't matter when you follow that up with some stupid fan servicey gag. So it's like she has this deep emotional moment, this revelation, or whatever happens, and then she's on her backside, her ass is up in the fucking someone's face, or all her clothes get stripped from her, and it's just what? Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we lessening this character, but also just having this shit in here for no fucking reason? It's very, very frustrating. That aside, I really, really like the show. Benny Maru is my favorite character. I was gonna say by a mile. I don't know if I would go that far. And I don't think it's uncommon for me or anyone to say that because he is so clearly the OP badass character of the show. And I think for some that might be a reason to not like him because there's not really any room for growth. Whereas with Shinra, you get to see him develop and get stronger, and Ben Maru is just already at his peak right from the start, right when we meet him in season 1, and he is just the top of the top the whole time, and that never changes. All you do with him in terms of growth, you can say, is that you get to see other ways in which he's badass. So when he and Joker are infiltrating the temple, looking for information on I think it was trying to see their potential involvement with the evangelists or something, but when they're doing that and he gets hit by that not poison dart or some kind of what is it? What is the dart I'm thinking of? It's not a suppression dart. The thing that you use when you're shooting animals and you want them to go to sleep. One of those. I don't know. I can't think of the word. But when that takes him down, and I think they ended the episode that way so that the next episode you see, oh, he gets back up, he's fine. That's another way of showcasing how badass he is, that even something like this can affect him. And when they, as a large group, take on that demon earlier on in season 2, it's shown how strong both he and, was it Conroe, the other dude from that area? What is it? What are they? The 7th? I forget the numbers. It's easy to remember the 8th because the 8th is the main group, but then I confuse all the other numbers because I think I know who the first is. But you realize that the only 2 individuals to ever take down demon infernals before are Conroe and Benimaru on their own. And then it took all these others to take down one by themselves, which is definitely a big way of showcasing the strength gap between Benimaru and everyone else. And even though he can't do it anymore because he has that disease from overusing, from overheating and going too far. But Benimaru is just, he's so much fun. And part of why I like him is not just his power, but his nonchalant vibe. I love that type of demeanor in a character in general. Just kind of flipping. It's like, yeah, brushing things off like they're nothing. It's why I like Saitama in One Punch Man or Zoro in One Piece. But I feel like Benimaru definitely embodies that maybe best of all. I love the look on his face so often. I liked it when he was hazing Shinra and Arthur. And after they finished all the hazing stuff and asked him what that was for, he's like, I don't know. I mean, Conroe did it to me, so I did it to you. I figured it was what he had to do. But now that I think about it, I never asked him why he did that. So I don't know. Maybe it was for nothing. And they freak out at him, but he's able to take on both of them at the same time, even now that they're fighting at him with anger because he's just that badass. And I love the look of him as well. I love it when he takes off like one of the shoulders. He's just cool. He is just a cool ass character. and it's impossible to deny that. But on top of him, my other two favorite characters, I love Maki. I love Maki so much. Every time she says something like, "Oh, I'm not feminine enough to wear this," or blah blah blah, I'm like, "Oh, you have no idea. You're so lovely and you're so pretty. You're the best. Don't say that about yourself." But I enjoyed getting more of her history and her relationship with her family during the last few episodes of the second season, even though I found her brother to be incredibly annoying as he was bickering with what's his name, the lieutenant, about how, "Oh, you just think of her as a meat shield. You don't really care about her. You tricked her into joining the eighth, blah 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 blah." And they just belabor that point and that aspect of the brother for like 3 fucking episodes. And I was just like, "Can this dude shut the fuck up already? Because I'm sick of hearing him whine and moan about his sister." And I just wanted to be back in the eighth already, which she does. I'm glad, because I couldn't remember how that ended, if she rejoined them at the end of the season or not. I love her character. And then I really like Karen. Karen, I feel like they pronounce his name Karen, but I don't know. It could be Karen, but the protector of the freaky pillar of the evangelist. I like him because he has an interesting vibe, but also his power is cool, and the way they use it, where he takes in others' flames and then, like, manipulates them to use his himself. You see how powerful he is. One, in that initial fight during the beginning of season 2 with Shinra, where he just is beating the crap out of him so much, and even when Shinra lands a hit on him and he's like, "Oh, you're the first one in a while to do any damage to me," he still just brushes it off basically and deals with Shinra. But then when they are everyone's converging on the, what is the name of that company? But converging on the sixth pillar, the young boy who was turned into a fire user from Reika's manipulation with all the bugs. When everyone's converging there and he is letting off this humongous ball of fire that could do so much damage, Charon is able to grab that power and project it up in the sky towards the moon. That is incredibly powerful, of course. So he definitely has to be on the power scale level one of the strongest characters in the show. But when he comes in to protect Shinra, because he is not just a protector, he's not, he is part of the evangelist squad, yes. But first and foremost, he's a protector of the pillars. And that character moment for him was one that I think they did really well. And it made me very invested, I guess, in him as a character. Because I don't know if the other protectors would do the same. Maybe Arrow. Arrow is another one that I kind of fuck with a little bit. Though that was another situation. There was a situation during that whole fight with everyone at that convergence where she gets hit and loses like half of her clothes on one side. I'm just like, fucking come on. Why does one? Yeah, okay, great. Everyone in this show has a ridiculously curvy body. I don't. Is there a single flat chested woman in this entire show? I don't feel like there is. But when they reveal, I'm like, oh my God, why are we doing this? Why does everyone have to lose? Like, that's the shit that frustrates with Fire Force. It's just all those moments that don't need to be there. And it's impossible not to be distracted by them when they happen. But I've liked Arrow for a while now. but she hasn't had as many. Probably her and Karen get the most of the protectors so far. I also feel like the fifth pillar, I forget her name, but pink haired lady who can trace explosions in her. I would say in her head, but she sees them visually. She has to be the craziest, most evil one of the bunch, right? Because I just you look at all these other ones, the evangelists, evil. You may agree, may not agree. Well, I mean, I think most viewers would say that the evangelists are not the good people, but they're working towards something. They have a goal in mind. They're trying to go after something, and whether or not you agree with what they're doing, it's like with what's his face, Thanos from the MCU. You may not agree with his thing, but he's got an I he's striving for something, and he thinks what he's doing is for the greater good, so on and so forth, blah 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 blah. With pink haired Tracer, she just likes seeing the world burn. She just likes seeing bad things. She just likes seeing everything in shambles. That's why she's like, oh, I can sense all these fires. This is exciting. The more fires, the merrier. That's all she is. And yeah. Then with the sixth pillar, I I really hated. I don't know if it looks different in the manga, but the visualization of his power into this kind of kaiju form where he was just a head inside the chest. I did not like the way that looked. It looks so cheap and crappy to me, even though everything happening in that moment was good. Just the way he looked, I didn't like. And I didn't like that the way they handled his connection with Reika, where Reika was in his mouth when he was talking. That fucking look, it's just weird looking. And I wonder how that's handled in the manga, if it's exactly the same or if it's different. But I didn't love the way it was done here in the anime. The show ends in the season ends in a decent way that basically gets you excited for season 3, and I can imagine those who were always in on Fire Force and excited about the show, waiting for season 3 for so long. I feel sorry for you because it does lead up to like, oh, people are coming out of the darkness now, out of the shadows to finally have some real confrontation. So I'm excited to watch season 3. But yeah, I ended up really enjoying the majority of my time with seasons 1 and 2. Obi's a great character as well. I really liked when Venomaru showed some praise, showed some respect for Obi, saying how he is such an impressive human being, and there is not a single other unpowered human who can do what he does. Talking about how powerful Obi is as a person and as a human, an unpowered human. That was nice. And then anything else about seasons 1 and 2? Nothing that comes immediately to mind. No, I'm excited to get to season 3. So that is Fire Force. In addition to Fire Force, of course, staying with my seasonal shows and whatnot, Witch Watch continues to be an enjoyable aside of a show. But this last episode was pretty nice and sweet. It had a great opening story where one character was trying to bring back her letter that was shredded to her from her mother who passed away. And she wants to use the power of the witch who she can bring something, restore something, but then she has to destroy something that means something to the person in order to do it. And in the letter to the daughter who, and the letter was shredded by the father because he didn't want the daughter to see. And the daughter thinks the mother was her real mother and the father isn't her biological father. And you find out that it was actually the reverse. And he didn't want to let the daughter discover this because he thought that maybe she'd feel differently. that she wouldn't have that motherly connection with her mother, that mother-daughter connection with her anymore, and that would hurt her because she always goes on about how she looks so much like her mother, even though they're not biological. She didn't know, but she's always so happy and proud of the fact that she looks like her mother, and he didn't want that to go away. And it's a really sweet story, and then it's followed up by this funny little thing with these more basic looking characters who look like they're drawn from another anime, and they talk. It's a nice show. It does have a lot of self-aware referential humor that may not be for everyone, but it's just a nice show. It's a nice show. And it surprised me with the sweetness of that story this week. Then the Apothecary Diaries is, I think, with this last episode at the point where everything moving forward is going to start getting serious, and they're preparing their armies to stop this rebellion from happening where Mao Mao is as well. And I'm very curious to see how all this is going to play out. One of the issues with stuff like this is that while we can look at the situation and worry for Mao Mao as a character because she's not in the greatest situation, the degree to which we are actually going to worry about her being in any kind of peril is pretty much zero, because we know they're not going to kill off Mao Mao. That's not going to happen. So I'm excited to see how everything plays out, but at the same time, I'm ready for the show to start wrapping up. Let's get through all this stuff that is probably going to be way more exciting than the show usually is. And then I want Jinshi to finally reveal that he is the Moon Prince to everyone, but also most importantly to Mao Mao, and for the story to wrap up with a nice little bow on it, and for me to be able to say, "Hey, Apothecary Diaries, that was a good show, good seasons. You should watch it because it's a nice show." But I'm ready for that at this point. My Hero Academia, Vigilantes, I'm enjoying it, and this last episode was fine with the American hero who is a piece of shit. He's really just doing what he can for publicity, won't really save anyone if it's not going to be good for his image, is a sexist bastard, and so on and so forth. And they had fun with that, but it kind of felt like beating a dead horse. Dead horse. It just felt like beating this same point over your head over and over and over again for the entire episode. And I hope that, because they kind of, I don't know if they really wrapped it up, but they changed his image so that his, I think, ex-wife won't try and sue him for being a shit with women, or maybe they're still married and he doesn't want to get sued or going with. I just hope we don't get too much more of him. But at this point in Vigilantes, I'm just kind of wondering where this show was going. How are we going to wrap up this season? What do we have? We have 5 episodes left, so there's still some time. But I'm wondering what the next part of the story is going to be. Windbreaker, I'm really liking a lot, because I just think Tsubaki is a great character, and I was not expecting the show to go this deep into their character. I figured they would have their episode or two, and then they move on to just continuing to focus on the main dude. What's his name? Sakura. And that hasn't been the case. This really feels like Tsubaki. Is it Tsubaki? Right? Tsubaki. I believe so. But this really feels like their season. And I love it for that. I think there's such a great character, and I'm glad they have gotten a lot more screen time than I was expecting. Of course, if you've read the manga beforehand, you probably already knew this, but as somebody who is an anime only watcher, I have really been enjoying the way this season has been playing out. I do wonder if this, because we've got 3 episodes left. I'm assuming that the way it's going to end is this current fighting arc in the city. They get through all that, and then the last, maybe the second to last episode, it's kind of a come down from that, and then the last episode will be a cliffhanger build up towards the next confrontation. But I can definitely understand why some people might not like this season. It doesn't feel as big for multiple characters as the first season. You don't have that big tournament archetype thing at the second half of the first season where you're really getting a lot of character development for multiple characters and learning a lot about so many different characters. This feels way more focused, and in a way you could look at it as a kind of side story to the main story, but it is getting its own season instead of its own kind of like tangent series. So I can understand that point of view. And the animation quality is lesser. It's not bad. This isn't a blue lock situation, but I would say that, and maybe others wouldn't agree, but I feel like the animation quality is probably about, I don't know, maybe like 85% of where it was at its peak, which isn't bad by any means, but you can definitely see where some corners were, what is this saying I'm looking for? But you can see it was aspects where they kind of, didn't go as hard as they maybe could have, but that's fine because it doesn't look bad. It just looks a little bit lesser. And then, yeah, One Piece. I have not watched the episode that went up today, Sunday, at the time of this recording, but I am enjoying it. I forgot that the last few episodes have been all following the backstory of what is his face. Am I even going to find him in this giant list of characters? But the Paw Paw dude, I keep wanting to say like Comey or something. That doesn't sound right at all. I think it's something with the K. Comey, Kuma. What's the difference? There's a big difference. But following his backstory has been good and way darker than I was expecting. I just feel bad for the dude. Man, what a backstory. But yeah, it's always weird talking about One Piece because it just feels like, well, One Piece is One Piece, and that's what it is. What's weird, and y'all would probably agree that this is a terrible idea, and it would make more sense if I want to do this to just read the manga instead. But I've thought about rewatching all of the anime up to current again. However, that just sounds insane. That it's going to be so time consuming, and why would I do that when I could be watching or rewatching other stuff? I should just read the manga, right? And I'll get the same experience essentially, but maybe it'll be even better and a tighter, faster experience. So yeah, that is going to do it for this here episode of Animezingly Baka. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye.
It's go time. Go, daddy.